Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Hi, I'm Rox Burkey. Welcome this evening. I am so delighted to be able to have Sarah Swindell with us this evening. Not only is Sarah an author, and we're going to talk about her book, but she's also a commercial actress and a model, and she's been very, very busy. So thank you for joining, Sarah.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Now we're going to have some fun, even though a lot of your book is probably not what I would call and classify as fun.
No, a little bit of it, but yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you're a very, very busy woman. You're a mother of 4. You have lots of kids and grandkids around close by. And I mean, you've had a real roller coaster time. And so it begs a question. What was the real reason that you decided to write this memoir?
Well, I think, it all started when my youngest of 4, Dawson, was diagnosed with autism when he was 18 months old. And, we have a little visitor behind us. And back when he was diagnosed with autism, the only books I found were books how they simple gluten-free diet cured them, or all kinds of stuff cured them. And over the years, that wasn't happening for us. And so the book is just kind of the toll that a devastating diagnosis can take on the family. It was just a kind of a raw look into what really happens when a family is tested and a marriage is tested specifically. And let me get that cat out of the way.
No, so one of the things that really touched me when I first looked inside of your book is that the whole, the way that you frame it as a memoir of love, which I think is the foundation, and without that, you wouldn't be where you are today. But you have betrayal and heartbreak and hope in raising a child with severe autism. That's just not easy. So I think, let's kind of refresh the audience as to what does severe autism mean for a person?
Well, and I wrote a little bit about how I feel like autism needs to be staged, much like cancer, because I think a lot of people think the first thing they ask me is, oh, wow, does he play an instrument really well? Or is he really good at math? And the reality on the spectrum of autism, I consider Dawson on the lower end. He's completely nonverbal. He can't write, he can't read, he can't dress himself. So I like to call that stage 4 autism. So people kind of understand, exactly what we're dealing with. And so I think a lot of people are, they go back to the movie Rain Man and think he can count toothpicks that fall on the floor. And that's so far from what his ability is. And they all do have special little gifts, but I wanted to write a book that it's not always, they're not going to be concert pianists or brilliant engineers, as some of them are, which is wonderful, but that's not a case for our family. And it's much like having an infant for the rest of your life is the way I describe it to people.
So here you have 3 daughters, and you have a son, and you're married and busy, active life going on. At 18 months old, you finally get a diagnosis that, I mean, the roller coaster impact must have been, I don't know that you understood initially where it was going to go. And as you said, it really impacted the family, but how did the other kids deal with it?
Well, and just to go back a little bit, we definitely had a very charmed life for a long time. My husband is a former Major League Baseball player. He was with the World Series winning Arizona Diamondbacks at the time our son was diagnosed. Life was pretty sweet. Like it was pretty darn good. And in a matter of a month, it was completely turned upside down. And, I realized how fortunate we were. We could dive right in with the expensive therapies and all the things that we were told to do. But what we weren't prepared for is how this seemingly perfect life was all of a sudden beyond imperfect. And I think my husband and I weren't prepared for how much it would affect our relationship, how much it would affect our children, because they were no longer what was going on in their life, not intentionally, but really didn't matter anymore. We were on a mission to cure Dawson. And autism back then, 18 years ago, the only plan was 40 hours a week of intense behavioral therapy where they came into your house. So we had a revolving door of therapists all day, 7 days a week. And our daughters, there was no more sleepovers, friends coming over. I was no longer the fun, bubbly baseball wife that was going to every game. I didn't care, which is sad to say now. And, I think my husband dealt with it his way and I dealt with it my way, and it inevitably destroyed our marriage over time, which is very common. I think that the divorce rate for children of special needs for adults with special needs is probably 80 to 90%. And you throw in the major league, professional baseball player divorce rate, we were doomed from the beginning.
So you have this situation going on and you're trying to do everything. It's not working, and the family goes into disarray, for lack of a better term. How did you decide to start picking up the pieces, or did you have to fall down the very long hole before you could actually start picking up the pieces? And I don't know how much straighter to say it, Sarah.
We were down a very dark hole. And, like I said, we inevitably, Greg and I ended up divorcing shortly after that. And, his career ended the year our son was diagnosed. Our daughter developed an eating disorder. One started self-harming herself. It was just a mess. And after our divorce, I feel like my self-medication was other men. And I married, divorced, remarried, divorced. They would ask me and I would say yes, because I think I was just putting Band-Aids on a broken heart. Dawson wasn't getting any better. He was actually getting worse despite all that we were doing. He wasn't sleeping. I was very sleep deprived. And I think it's like having a newborn for the rest of your life. So he never slept. So I was in a fog all the time. Looking back, I don't know how. I just remember always wanting to lay down and close my eyes for a minute. And, you can't with 4 children. And so my mission to write it was, I felt very strange and inadequate, and I wasn't doing anything right. And I felt very alone. And all the books that were out there were all these miraculous, everything was great after they changed the diet or did the therapy, and that wasn't happening for us. And so that's why I think we're more than normal, maybe not all the marriages, but I think, what happened to our family is very normal, and it just wasn't talked about.
So, you say you're not normal, but you went through some huge trauma, and you did have some relationship issues, no doubt about it. And you decided you were going to, try and find happiness, which is a very much human kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you and Greg remarried.
Yes, we did.
So that in itself is kind of like, Cinderella again.
Well, it's a very messy love story. And so, there is I think initially it was the autism that tore us apart. And 10 years later, it was his autism that brought us back together. And, we had both married other people and were living life without each other, but the love was always there from the beginning. And, 3 years ago, we decided to get married again. And it was the best decision we ever made. And it's just a story about how there was a lot of forgiveness. There was some infidelity involved. You name it, it happened to us. So there was a lot of forgiveness and a lot of, needing forgiveness and asking for forgiveness, and just being a whole family. And now all of our the girls are gone, and it's just Dawson and my husband and I, and we'll have them the rest of our life. And we truly rounded home. So I had that title long before I wrote the book, never dreaming we would ever get back together. I thought I would round home with someone else. And it's exactly.
So exactly when did you decide you were going to put this journey that you and your husband and your children, all of them, including Dawson, traveled down? When did you decide you were going to actually record it and do a book? I know you couldn't find other books and you couldn't get help here, but it takes, with all you had going on, that's a huge commitment just to write a book.
Yeah. Well, I journaled my whole life. And so I had lots, I always, it's funny, I never sought counseling, which I should have. And so writing was my escape and my way of getting my feelings out. So I'd always done that. And about a year, I'd always wanted to write a book, but, I had about 30 seconds of college. I'm not a writer per se, I guess I am now, but I was always, I lacked the confidence because of my lack of education and just knowledge how to go about it held me back. And I had a lot of stuff. I was nervous about what would my family think, all those things that go through your head that held me back. But about a year and a half ago, I took a memoir writing class in Austin, and I loved it and gained the confidence that I did have a story. And my instructor suggested I start a blog to see if people were interested in what I had to say. And the blog went really well. I got great feedback. So I just started writing chapter by chapter as I was writing my blog. And it just sort of, I actually wrote the book pretty quickly. It just all came out, and
there you go.
There we go. Yeah.
So we're going to, it's a perfect place to take a short break. We're going to listen to our sponsors, Sarah, and then when we come back, I want to talk about some of what has opened up for you because of the book. So stick around.
All right.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Charbonneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lecter, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
Hi, Brightfield and Burkey here, award-winning authors for the Techno Thrillers books, the Enigma book series. Technology, today's weapon of choice, the cyber good guys versus the cyber bad guys.
We invite you to join our website, theenigmaseries.com, where you will get sample chapters, sample audibles, book trailers, and you can sign up for our mailing list. The books are available in ebook, paperback, and Audible. Thank you.
I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Thank you for watching or listening to this show. Indie Lecter is proud to sponsor this programming. As a thank you for listening or watching, we would like to give you a 10% coupon code that you can use on our bookstore at indielecter.store. Use coupon code VIDEO19. Again, that's indielecter.store, coupon code VIDEO19 for a 10% discount on any purchase. Thank you.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow.
Hey, thank you for sticking with us. I'm Rox Burkey, and I'm here with Sarah Swindell, and author of Rounding Home, which is a real eye-opening story about parenting a child with autism. So thank you for sticking around, Sarah. I want to talk about some of what you are doing now that you published the book, because from a class, 18 months ago till now, I mean, you have done another, let's rock it up on this roller coaster.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And I think my favorite part so far is the younger parents that are just starting out on the journey. I kind of consider myself a veteran of an autistic child, and sharing my story and kind of giving insight of the mistakes I made, some tips on what to avoid, how to, to be sure and nurture, if you're in a relationship, to nurture that relationship, to take care of yourself, because if you're not well, you're not going to be any good to anyone, and to ask for help. So all the knowledge that I've gained, all the mistakes that I've made, it's been nice to have this platform with my book to go, I recently spoke at an Autism Society parent group. I've been asked to speak at some lunch and learns for long-term care facilities of parents trying to figure out what they're going to do with their adult children after high school, which is another whole book. But just being able to have a voice now that I have kind of this platform with the book has been amazing.
Well, and you're filling a gap in where you clearly found that there wasn't any resources and there wasn't, some honest help. I mean, doctors are such a small perspective on any medical condition, but especially something that, Dawson's 19 now?
Almost 19, yes.
Yeah, so he's almost 19. Health-wise, he's doing well. He just has some disabilities. But you and Greg are committed to that family, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think because he's completely nonverbal, it's our job to be his voice the rest of his life. We have to guess when he's crying. We have to kind of do a head-to-toe check if there's, does he have a rock in his shoe? Does he? I mean, he just never so that's always, a challenge. But I think just having this platform to help, because autism is, back when he was little, we used to always say, it'd be, and it's hard to get to that point in life, but we used to say it would be so much easier if he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. We used to pray for that when he was little, that they would just find that, because then they could take it out and there was a treatment plan and a game plan. But with a neurobiological disorder, doctors would often just shrug their shoulders and say, well, try this. If that doesn't work, try this. There's no roadmap they're all so different. And there's not one treatment. We used to wish there was a real diagnosis with a treatment plan, but autism doesn't have a treatment plan. And so it's a lot of trial and error and a lot of highs and lows, a lot of disappointments, and the tiniest breakthrough, just getting potty trained was a huge step,
Sure.
All those things that people take for granted. And, I think the hardest part has been that there is no treatment plan. And I'd like to say that it's gotten better in the 19 years. I think, insurance is picking up some of the things that weren't covered 18 years ago. That's helpful, but it's still much the same. I think there's more centers, more schools, and I think there's more awareness, which is great, but there's still no real plan.
Well, no, but you also have more experience. So you're able to deal with it better than you were when it first happened.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference as well. So you guys are truly a family unit, where at that point in time, you weren't sure what you were because you were just trying to find a cure.
Well, and our three older daughters, I can't say enough, I'll try not to cry, but without their love for him and their patience, because like I said earlier, they were put on the back burner for a long time. And we are so blessed that when Greg and I pass away someday, we know that he will be taken care of by his three sisters that love and adore him. And that's the bright side of having a child with special needs, is what it has taught our typical daughters about compassion and love and acceptance. And nobody loves that boy more than those girls. And for a lot of families, it's an only child, the affected child. And that's got to be terrifying for those parents on what happens when they're gone.
Yeah.
Who's going to love them?
So you've been speaking to many, many groups, and you're also still doing your blog, aren't you?
A little bit. I've I haven't blogged in probably a month now. It's probably time. Thank you for the reminder. But I loved blogging. I just my brain is always going. And so it's really nice to kind of just say what's on my mind. And it's been fun. Yeah.
So what is your website so people can follow you and even get responses from you? Because I know you communicate with folks too.
Yeah.
You're really good at that. You really
I'm a great responder. My author website is just www.sarahswindell, SarahSwindell.com. That's my author website. Probably the best way to get a hold of me. All my Facebook, Twitter, all that's on there. I love to communicate with people, so please reach out, especially if you're a autism mom or dad or caregiver. I love to hear from you.
Now, I know recently you went to a book signing too. Does that website provide areas where people can see you, maybe get a book signed by you?
Yep, and so I have an events page. So I'm doing lots of things in the Austin area this month, a couple of fun little events that are on my website. And then I'm really excited I'll be doing a book signing during the Houston Astros game. It's all who you know. I mean, yeah, but it'll be September 18th at the, I think they're playing the Rangers. So that'll be really fun. I know.
Okay. That's my team, man. That's my team.
And of course the Astros are in first place. It's all going well. But so it helps to kind of have a celebrity husband to kind of get the word out. He's been,
heck yeah.
You got to use what you got to use. And
so where can folks buy your book? If they can't come to a signing and get it right from the horse's mouth, where can they purchase your book?
Well, Amazon, of course, and all the major and minor book retailers, Barnes and Noble, Book People here in Austin. They can, if they don't have it, they can certainly order it. But Amazon's probably the easiest for most people. It's just a click away. And I'm super excited. My audio book just came out right before I came on the air. So now you can just listen to me as you're driving in the car or whatever.
And who's your narrator?
Me. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you're a brave woman.
That was fun. Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah.
That's also who you know and which production studio you can get into. Good job.
It was fun. Yeah, I just Googled it, and the guy, Joel Block at Blockhouse here in Austin, was great, and he made me sound really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, we're getting close to the end of this segment, and I want to come back, and I really want to talk a little bit more about the rounding home and the influence of Greg on this book and on how you're going to carry through the coming days of what's going on in your life. So stick around.
It does help, being that, especially here in Austin, Texas, Greg's a little bit of a no name. He was a big, player at UT, played with the Astros, and he's been around Texas his whole life. So he's been great about, he just sends a tweet about me and he gets all kinds of, reaction. So I am very lucky that he's helping me out a lot. It definitely helps my cause.
I'm sure he's very proud of you. So stick around. We'll be right back.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? I'm Charlotte Canyon, award-winning author of the book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. That was a question I had to ask myself some 16 years ago, and you'll have to ask the same question. I had a father-in-law with dementia, a mother with Alzheimer's, and a dad with Parkinson, all at the same time.
What would you do if you found out everyone on the town council were thieves and murderers? That's what happened in Bandera, Texas in 1873. John Cruder was the marshal, yet he needed to operate outside the law in order to balance the scales of justice. He is the Midnight Marauder. You can find his books on Amazon.com and TopWesterns.com in paperback, digital, and audio. I'm Roy Clinton, and I hope you'll read The Midnight Marauder.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Hey, thank you for sticking with me. This is Rox Burkey, and I'm here with Sarah Swindell, author of Rounding Home, a very serious book about being a parent of an autistic child. And, you know, Sarah, my hat's off to you for putting that story out there and really sharing all of the ups and downs, which there were many. And I like that you have a happy ending kind of in this.
Very much so.
As you're rounding home. That's awesome. But, you know, you do have a very, very famous husband, and you do have an ability to get him part of your marketing team. So is that something that you planned originally? I've got to know.
Well, it definitely doesn't hurt. I mean, I don't know what I would do without him, because it's a full-time job. Just, you know, it's a lot of posting and you know, all that stuff that, you know, I hate to be so annoying on social media, but I know you have to be. And I think when people come out to a signing, I think they're hoping to see him, which is totally fine with me. You know, it definitely helps my cause because we are a team in this, and it's our story. And even if it's ugly and messy in places, he's just as much a part of it as I am. And for him to allow me to share our kind of not so pretty side, which is, I think we all have it. And that's, I did that because we all have our stuff. And, you know, I think we all put smiles on our faces and act like everything's okay. And it's okay to not be okay sometimes, and to ask for help, and to not be ashamed or feel like you're doing something wrong. And I think you can bounce back from those dark times. And I talk a lot about, you know, we dealt with one of my daughters tried to commit suicide. I thought it, but we all thought about it. It was, and to, you know, you think, who would ever think such things? You know, and I think I'm a kind of a stable person, and you think of it, and it, you know, it's important to get help and to not let yourself get in those dark places.
Well, and life happens, you know, I mean, life happens. And so here you are, very brave, both of you, for doing this. I know that you self-published your book. That's also another decision. Did Greg help reading it and help with some of the editing of it, or did he not want to participate? I'm just, because some husbands like to, and some are like, no, you go over there, honey.
He trusted me completely. There was one tiny section that he asked me to take out, and it was during one of my single years, and I was trying to give, you know, some newly divorced women that it's not always awful being single in your 40s, and you know, it was a little steamy scene that he had me take out, so I had to respect that. But for the most part, I would ask him questions about things that I wasn't sure he wanted me to talk about, you know, the important things. And he was like, just lay it all up. Or, he's not a reader, so he's probably in there listening to the audiobook that just came out right now. So.
Oh, good. No, but the support is awesome, especially in your situation. So do you have another book that you're planning? Like, are you going to take it to another level that folks need to follow you?
Well, I kind of have a fiction idea kind of based on a little bit of kind of what we deal with at home. My dream is to hear my son's voice. I've always wondered what he's thinking. Does he think in words? Does he think in pictures? And so I kind of want to do, because I kind of have a wacky sense of humor. Even my book is kind of serious. My humor comes out every once in a while.
Right.
I'd like to do a fiction book, kind of. The first half would be about, his view as a nonverbal, like maybe what he's thinking in italics, and then the second half, he would all of a sudden start talking and tell us what his world was like during those silent years, I hated it when you fed hot dogs every single day, that kind of stuff. Like, what would he say if he found his voice? And so I kind of have ideas for that.
Oh, I think that's really exciting. And before we close down, one more time, Sarah, could you share with everyone your website and your email?
Yep, it's www.sarahswindell.com. Just my name, SarahSwindell.com. It's my author website. All the ways to get in touch with me are all on there. My email's on there. So just don't be afraid to reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
And Rounding Home is available now in paperback, ebook, and Audible today.
And hardcover. So all the ways you like to read, it's available for you.
Congratulations, Sarah. I'm so glad that you're going to have that happy ending.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Of course. You have a nice evening.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website at indiebeacon.com.